You know, I'm in a pretty good mood, and that sucks. It really does suck because I know like half of the people watching this are going to be in a really bad mood, so I don't want to come in here with all my positive energy and steal the show, steal the energy, or whatever. But the Vancouver Canucks have just lost to the Montreal Canadiens 3-1 in Rogers Arena. And this was a highly anticipated game for myself and for many of my friends as well. If you didn't know, I'm a Canadiens fan as well. They're my second favorite team. So it was really weird watching this game and cheering for both teams and getting mad when both teams scored and being happy and both frustrated at the same time when each team got a penalty and kind of being equally mad at the refs either way, because that does happen. But the Montreal Canadiens came into Vancouver today to a very, very interesting game. Now, the night started off with Antoine Roussel, who, before the game even began, talked about how he was really pissed off that there were so many Montreal fans in Vancouver. Right away, that kind of put a target on his back for Habs fans, because everyone was like, okay, this Antoine Roussel guy wants to get in the way of the Habs fandom of the Habs, and we don't like that. That's pretty much what I saw from everybody who is related to or cheering for Montreal online. Antoine Roussel was the immediate guy that people were like, okay, yeah, not this guy, not him. But turns out Antoine Roussel's comments had no effect whatsoever, because this looked like a Habs home game. There were so many red sweaters in the stands tonight. It was absolutely incredible, and I want to give two shoutouts here. First off to Nelson Ellis, and second off to Joel Turtle Gaudette. He's also with Sportsnet as well. These two are some of my friends in the radio program at BCIT. They are Habs fans, and they both went to this game tonight. They were both talking about how they like the Habs, so obviously it's easy to see where I get my Habs fandom from. But this one was a really interesting one, because as I said, I was cheering for both of these teams. If this thing went my way, it would have gone to a shootout, and it would have gone to like round 8 of a shootout, and I would have been happy either way. But Montreal eventually takes the win here, and Canucks fans are kind of pissed off. However, I will say that it was a treacherous path to go through for this Montreal win. First off, the game started off with a few interesting penalties here. Nate Thompson is the guy who gets sent over to the box first on what is deemed a boarding hit on Tyler Mott. Habs fans, I saw this one, were like, okay, why was that a penalty? Canucks fans were like, hell yeah, that's definitely a penalty. And being a part of this series where I'm part of both of these fandoms, it's really weird taking a look at both sides. In my opinion, yeah, Thompson boarded the guy, he got a penalty, the Canucks didn't convert on it, but eventually it is later on when the Montreal Canadiens take another penalty. This one is Thomas Tatar. It's tripping on Jake Virtanen, and Habs fans that I follow blew up. There were many arguments about, hey, the guy fell down before Tatar's stick even touched his skates. That was a dive. Refs, what are you doing? And the Vancouver Canucks scored on the power play. It was Adam Gaudette who received a pass out in front, absolutely sniped it, and it was beautiful. Hockey god in the house here. And for the most part, I was kind of cheering for Gaudette scoring. I was kind of cheering when Tatar went to the box, but then I was kind of frustrated at the same time because I understood that, yeah, I don't really know if that was an actual trip, but at the same time, hey, you know, the Habs did come back and they won, so there's that contradiction right there. But going into the second, we had a lot of goals that were called off. But before the goals that were called off, we get an actual goal here from none other than Nick Cousins, who takes a puck in off of a really good rush. It's Armia, sends it over to Domi. Domi through the legs, throws one out in front to Cousins, who shoots it, and he scores it. I'm kind of cheering at the TV, and Rogers Arena is like packed with Habs fans. So the entire building just like comes alive, and it's kind of embarrassing as a Canucks fan, but as a Habs fan, I'm looking at that and I'm like, hell yes. Yeah, the building's coming alive for an away team goal. What a sight! But then after that, we get all the goals that were disallowed. Let's go over those right here. In particular, Vancouver's first one, that was an Adam Gaudette goal again. Josh Levo comes into the zone a little bit early, gets a breakaway, he shoots it, the rebound pops out to Gaudette, he shoots it, he scores it. Price doesn't know where the puck is, and that one I kind of knew. I kind of watched the zone entry and I was like, wait a minute, wasn't Levo offside there? Then they scored and I was like, okay, that's going to be challenged. There's no way Levo was onside on that play. Because I, for one, am always really paying attention nowadays to the entries, because this whole goalie interference and offside coaches challenge thing, it really changed the game pretty much. So now I'm always kind of like being really, really pinpoint accurate when I'm watching these zone entries. And right away I identified it. I was like, okay, there's no way, that's not in. Levo, you were offside, bud. The right call was made, the goal comes back, and eventually the Montreal Canadiens score, and then, okay, no, that one was also called back. Hey, Arturi Lehkonen, who is in the slot, gets pushed around by Fantenberg, and he gets pushed in a way that kind of forces him into Jacob Markstrom. He's not necessarily in the blue paint, but he kind of is. Markstrom is down. He doesn't really make an effort to get up, and Tyler Myers gives the puck away to Armia in front, who shoots it, and he scores it. That goal was called off too because of goalie interference, and Habs fans that I saw were really, really upset. Things like, okay, the guy didn't make an effort to get back up. Okay, Lehkonen was making an effort to not get in Markstrom's way. Okay, Vancouver might as well challenge because the refs have been, insert word here, the entire night. But this one I was kind of surprised that it got called back. Because me knowing the Montreal Canadiens luck and knowing the Canucks luck, I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, we're gonna have a Montreal lead, right? The Habs haven't really had the calls go their way up until this point, and the Canucks always seem to be on the losing end of these kinds of things, so it's gonna be 2-1 Montreal, right? And then they were like, no goal. And Canucks fans were freaking out. They were like, hell yeah, that wasn't a goal. But then Habs fans are freaking out like, what? How is that not a goal? So again, being a part of both the fandoms, it's weird seeing both of the sides here. But ending off the second period, it was tied 2-2. But then the third period comes, and this is where Montreal kind of does something different than what they've been doing all year. They score several power play goals. And it starts off with Philippe Danault, who draws the penalty initially to go on the power play. Then eventually it's Philippe Danault again, who draws another penalty while on the power play. But while he draws the penalty, he dives, he falls down, and he sends it out in front to Thomas Tatar, who comes in, does a nice little backhand-forehand deke, beats out Jacob Markstrom. And because there was a penalty on the play, because there was a delayed call, the Habs stay on the power play. And then it's Shea Weber, who gets a nice little feed out in front. Armia bobbles it in the middle, sends it over to the side, and Weber gets his 11th on the year to put the Habs up 3-1. And at this point, I'm like, yes, Shea Weber got another one. I called for 15 goals on the year for this guy, and he's at 11. We're not even halfway through the year yet. That's awesome, isn't it? But then my Canucks fan came out, and I was like, what the hell, not again. Seriously, we're gonna lose this one. And the duplicity. There's weird duality going on within me, but I digress. The game ends off with that, and it's 3-1 final score. But ultimately, this was a game where I feel like the Habs probably could have won it 6 out of 10 times. I honestly could make an individual video for the majority of the Vancouver Canucks players, calling out each of their things in this particular game that I just didn't jive with. Pedersen, I thought he could have been better. Myers, I don't think he was good at all in this game. Bo Horvat kind of looked lost out there at times. Quinn Hughes was the only one who I can confidently say, yeah, he had a really good game. JT Miller, I feel like he gets a little bit overconfident once in a while and costs the team in really weird moments. Stetcher, I thought he could have been a bit better. Fantenberg, I thought he was good, honestly. Markstrom, the guy was in net. The guy had a lot of really nice open looks, and he had a lot of really good saves. But in general, I think Markstrom was okay. But as for the Habs, hey, you guys won. You guys don't need to have all the deep analysis, but if I wanted to, I could give that as well. It's those open looks. The Habs got their goals by having a really scrambled out Jacob Markstrom or doing some really fancy moves. The puck movement on the Habs part wasn't the best in this game, but it was just enough to get it done. And I will say that if the Habs play the game that they played against the Canucks today against the majority of teams, I don't think they would win. But the fact that the Canucks are slumping right now and the fact that the Canucks didn't necessarily have a great performance was able to give Montreal the lead at the end. So, all in all, it's a weird game for me. I was a fan of both teams. I was a fan of all the goals. I was a fan of all the penalties. But ultimately, the majority of my fan base is Vancouver-based, so I understand why you may be upset. Hope you enjoyed this video. Social Roussel 99. And bye.